Welcome to MB Tool Reviews. Today on the channel we're looking at these, the 71-32-200 mini bolt cutters from knipex. So these retail at around about £43 to £46 at the moment. They're on sale. Usually they are £53 upwards in the UK, again on Amazon. If you shop around, you can find them anywhere from sort of £40 to sort of £60. And these are mini bolt cutters, 200mm bolt cutters. Very short, handheld mini bolt cutters for cutting down things such as screws, nails and rivets. These will cut up to 5.2mm cross-sectional area according to knipex. At the retail price of between £40 and £60, they are a little bit expensive. I also recently purchased these. I actually purchased these before I purchased these. These are the 71-01-200 mini bolt cutters from knipex. These didn't arrive, so I ended up ordering these. So I was tempted to send these back, so I may send these back, I'm not sure yet. However, I am going to keep these ones for sure. The difference between the two is that these are spring loaded. So these have a nice spring action and a locking mechanism there to keep them locked and keep the jaws closed when you're not using them. So there, with this springing mechanism, it makes it a lot easier for repetitive cuts and requires less effort to cut materials. The 71-01-200 don't have that, so they stay open or stay closed. They don't have a springing action. So I'm going to test out both of these today to see how easily they cut through a screw. This is an electrical screw, 3.5mm. I have another one here. Slightly different materials. These are the ones that come with your sockets and switches. These are the ones that you buy separately in a pack and then cut to length. So these are a little bit softer, I believe. Also going to be testing out a screw, a couple of different thicknesses of screws here. We'll test that out. I'm also going to use these Draper mini bolt cutters. These are all 200mm bolt cutters. The ones from knipex here retail at around £36, and these ones from Draper I've had for a long time. These retail at around about £13. I'm also going to compare these bolt cutters to a set of regular pliers, see how well they fare against a screw and the electrical screws and the wood screws, as well as these side cutters with a dedicated electrical screw cutter. So I'm not going to use that for the wood screw, I don't want to damage my cutters, but I am going to use it for the electrical screw to cut down and see how the difference in quality is with these with a dedicated cutter compared to these bolt cutters. So first of all, let's test out the knipex 71-32-200. So I'm going to try it with this electrical screw. I have been using these for about the past month now, and they are a fairly decent set of cutters, so I actually know what they can do. I'm just going to lock a little bit off of this electrical screw, and next to no effort there, just push down on the handle, a little bit of pressure at the end, and that makes a fairly decent cut. And it's tapered on both sides, so actually it will go into a screw hole fairly easily, shouldn't need filing or chamfering. So that was them with this screw. I'm going to use the same screw. I'm going to test it with the other knipex pair. And again, I'm just lopping small bits off here because I want to save this screw for all of them. So again, that did the job with no problems at all. I'd say it was about exactly the same as the other pair of knipex, only difference being that those other ones are sprung loaded and these are not, so therefore if I was doing this repetitively and cutting multiple screws, I'd probably want this sprung version. That's personal preference. Next up, the Draper set. So these do have a spring on them, but it sort of locks and unlocks them. These are a little bit older as well, so they're not as sharp or as good as the knipex ones. And again, that cut that no problem at all. For a very old pair of Draper, and a very cheap pair of Draper bolt cutters, they did very well. Now onto the pliers. So the pliers did cut through. Did require a fair bit of effort from me to cut through the screw. Now I'm going to use these NWS side cutters, and I'm going to put the screw through the middle. This is always a bit fiddly. Okay, so we're back. I've managed to pop the screw through. It's actually quite awkward. I think they have a little bit of rust on these side cutters. So here we go. I'm going to cut this screw now. And a little bit of pressure, and it did cut the screw very easily actually. I have to say that's a nice clean cut from these. With the dedicated cutter you would expect that. It's actually got a flat end on it. There's no chamfering or filing required. That's ready to use straight away. And there you go. Only thing I have to say is they don't quite mark up which side you should be using the cutter for. I imagine you use it probably that side front on as if you would with the rest of it. I don't think it really matters. You can just adjust your screw to size. If you're using them every day, you're probably going to figure out which way round is best. So that was the electrical screw, and all of them did pretty well, as you'd expect considering it's quite soft. We'll go on to this small screw here. Got a couple of these different ones. I think these two are the same, so we'll use them so that there's no differences. I'm not going to use the side cutters, they're not for that purpose. The pliers, again, they're not really for this purpose, but we'll give it a shot just to kind of test the hardness. And a firm squeeze on the pliers, and I can't get that to do anything more than gouge the side of the screw a little bit. I'm not going to break my pliers trying to do that. I'll test the Draper ones again now. So as we open these up, see if they can cut anything off this screw. Yep, that cut that. A little bit of pressure on that one to cut it, but it was able to do the job relatively easily. Now onto the knipex. So this is the 7101-200. And again, quite a bit of pressure there compared to the Draper ones. As I said, the Draper ones are slightly sprung, these are not. These required a little bit more effort, however, it may be because the screw is a little bit further down than the Draper ones. And then now these knipex ones. And again, about the same amount of pressure as the 7101-200s, these 7132-200s. Cut through that, reasonable amount of effort on there. I wouldn't want to use these to cut through screws every single day, but they can do it. I won't try on a thicker screw because that was quite difficult. I don't imagine they're going to be able to cut through anything thicker than that. So I think they'll cut through most standard electrical screws and a small bolt. It says up to 5.3mm CSA. I don't believe that's the case for bolts. I believe anything sort of M4 and under might be achievable for these, dependent on the metal. Anything hardened, these are going to struggle, as are any of these bolt cutters. I think will struggle with anything over sort of M4 hardened bolts. Soft bolts up to probably M6, all of them will take care of no problem, as would probably a pair of pliers. They just do it a bit easier than the pliers. In comparison, the pliers obviously were a little bit more of a struggle to cut through the electrical screws, but these are dedicated for that purpose, so I would expect that. So all in all, I'd say that these are a very good set of bolt cutters. As I said, I have been using them for a month. I have had no problems with them at all. So the knipex 71-32-200, they are great for everyday use, especially with the sprung handle and the locking mechanism. They fit nicely in your bag. They've got quite a chunky handle, which is actually really nice when you're gripping it onto a bolt. It just gives you a little bit more purchase for your hand. They don't dig into your hand. It's exactly what you need for cutting through bolts and screws and nails. Like these a lot. These are very good, and over the past month they've been great. I've had no problems with them at all. These 7101-200s, these are very nice. I do like the handles, that's why I bought them in the first place. They're not too bad. I guess if you're using them every once in a while for one-off jobs here and there, they're not too bad. They're quite expensive for the price, given that you can pay about £10 more and get the sprung version. I'd definitely go with the sprung version over this. They also have a 4.8mm CSA cutting capacity according to knipex. So slightly cheaper. And then of course you have the Draper set, which they are slightly sprung. So they do spring out and spring back, not quite the same way that the knipex ones do. However, these are a little bit old, so maybe they've worn out. They do have a lock-in mechanism to keep them locked, and they normally have a little catch here, which over the years has disappeared. But considering these are at £13, these are pretty good in comparison to the knipex ones, which are nearly 4 or 5 times the price. It really depends on how often you're going to be using them and the levels of comfort you want, because I will say the Draper ones, the handle's not particularly comfortable. This is a plastic handle with this ridged design here, so they're quite, you know, sort of not very nice to hold. Whereas these knipex ones are lovely to hold, nice and soft, and big chunky handles. It really comes down to a case of how often you're going to use them. If you're a DIYer, probably go with the Draper ones. If you are a professional and you're cutting through bolts every single day, handle bolts, electrical screws, nails, rivets, whatever it may be, I would go with these. But that's my opinion. Comment down below if you think something different, or if you think I should test these out on something different. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below if you think that these are worth the money, or should I have just stuck with the Draper ones, or do you prefer these knipex ones, or should I have just not bothered at all and kept my pair of pliers? So that's all for today's video. Apologies for the delay. I have filmed this video quite a few times and had some audio issues, so it's taken me a few weeks to actually get this one out to you. Please leave a comment down below if you have any questions about these tools or any other tools on the channel. Please give this video a like if it was some help to you, and please remember to subscribe to the channel as we've got plenty more content to come. Thank you.